Hello and welcome to Thoughts of the Beholders. This is a podcast where we behold things throughout the week and then we gather to share our thoughts on them. I am Tyrion Miller.
Hi, and I'm Cademan again. Yay!
Yes. In case it wasn't clear, we only have two people on this podcast, and they never change.
Wait a minute. You forgot about Jim.
Do we have a fictional third person
Hi, I'm
who just
Jim.
never has anything to say?
I'm Jim. I have a lot of things to say. It's
Okay,
me,
I will
Jim.
remember to never check in with Jim.
Yeah, go away, Jim. No one cares about your thoughts.
So this week or period of time between episodes, we have started watching which show, Cademan?
We started watching the grandest of vampire shows where the vampires happen to look like aliens from Star Trek. That was surprising to me. But
Have you never seen a Buffy
I had
vampire before?
I had no idea what the show was gonna be like. Honestly, like I believe I knew it was in high school, but besides that, like, I just knew it was fighting monsters.
Well, it's in high school for now. It won't stay there forever, though.
What? Spoilers?
Oh, sorry.
But anyway, yes, the show is Buffy. Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I believe, is the name of the show. And we watched...
It is the name of the show,
the first...
And I have...
He's watched a lot of the show, I believe. And
I've watched most of this show before, but it has been probably a year or two since I've seen any of it.
And I've watched none of it. I didn't even know what the vampires would look like, or that they wouldn't show heads getting chopped off, which was a little disappointing.
It is from 1997.
Yeah, but like there was that one scene where she threw the symbol and chopped off the vampire head. And I was like, oh man, if it was supernatural, they totally would have shown that.
Yeah, there would have been a tight close-up on the head as it fell to the ground.
Yeah, it would have been great, maybe? It would have been a little fun.
Yes, they are much more restrained by, technological limitations in Buffy than they were in Supernatural, which went, just crazy with special effects.
Yeah, but, so anyway, basically, I saw the first two episodes for the first time, and that's our beholded thing, and we're gonna talk about it. I have a couple notes, not a lot, so we'll probably, jump around a lot.
Probably won't take us too long to discuss these two episodes. They're very, well, I don't know, maybe for you they're less so, but for me they felt very cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Because they were, a pilot episode.
Yeah. I think ultimately my overall thoughts was this is very much pilot, where like the actors don't really know their characters yet, and the writers don't really know their storytelling ishness yet. That was kind of the feel I got from it. So like part of me was like this episode is not the most like exciting but I think that the show will probably get a lot more exciting as it goes.
Yeah. You brought up the third member of our podcast, Jim,
Uh-huh.
and I was gonna say Jim is sort of like the Jesse of our podcast, in the sense that he's in this episode and then we'll never mention him again.
Oh, yeah. Yep, that's true. In fact, yeah, Jim, halfway through this episode, he's gonna get turned into a vampire, and then we're gonna have to kill him.
Hey.
Yay. Sorry, Jim. But we're just, like, unnecessarily mean to you anyway. So, like, I don't feel bad.
I didn't sign on for being a vampire.
I don't feel bad
That wasn't in
about
the contract.
killing you. Honestly, like, just because for some reason I'm mean to you anyway, so I feel like I should say that to continue with this running gag of us being mean to you, Jim.
Anyway.
So, the only character that I really liked in this episode was I liked the librarian. He reminded me very much of what's his name, who played young Professor X.
Oh, interesting.
Like they have kind of
James McAvoy?
Yeah, they have kind of a similar way of talking, at least him in this role. It almost like when he was Mr. Tumnus.
Yeah, I could kind of see it. I definitely wouldn't have like made that connection, but now that you say it, I'm like, I can kind of see that.
I honestly, like, I thought, is that him? For a second. And I was like, nah, he's just British.
Yeah. Did you recognize Sir Anthony Head, who plays Giles? Did you recognize him from anything else?
I did not. I don't know if should have.
He's been in a handful of episodes of Doctor Who.
Okay.
Well, I think he's been in 2. I shouldn't say a handful. But in one episode of Doctor Who, I think in the 2nd season of the reboot, he plays the headmaster at a school who's secretly a giant bat-like alien.
Oh, okay. I remember that. That was with Jessica Jones? No, that's not right.
That's wrong.
No, what's her name? It's Jessica Jones. My goodness.
Is it Sarah Jane?
Sarah Jane, yes, that is it.
Is it really Sarah Jane?
I believe it is Sarah Jane. Or maybe
that just sounds wrong.
It's funny because, like, until I said something, like, Jessica Jones mainly sounded right, and I was like, I'm not sure if this is right, but it sounds right. And then as it was coming out, I was like, oh, that's a different character. Oopsies.
Yep, that's a very different character from a very different franchise.
Oopsies. Awkward. But anyway, yeah, I remember that episode. It's very Doctor Who-ish. Which,
yeah.
The thing about Doctor Who is, like, and we've talked about this off the podcast, but I'm gonna say it so the podcast listeners know what I think about Doctor Who.
Right, for context.
I think Doctor Who is like a brilliant concept and like a brilliant type of world, but the stories are like almost awesome all the time, and then and there's quite a few where it's like it is just straight up awesome. But a lot of times it's like, oh, if you just took this like in a slightly different direction, it would be so interesting to me. So I like to say it that in an alternate universe somewhere, there is a version of Doctor Who that is the best show ever made, because I think that potential is within Doctor Who. I just think that no one's ever quite taken it there.
Yeah. I always say I feel like Doctor Who has good bones, but it doesn't always live up to its good bones.
Yeah, that's an easy way of saying things. I wish
Yeah,
I would have
it might
thought of
be
that.
it might be a little unclear and a little bit weird, but I feel like it gets the point across to at least a small demographic. Speaking of shows that are almost good, uh, the show that we watched, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, I feel like there's a part of me that is sort of nostalgic about, like, because like it starts up right, and so because I've already seen this show, there's a part of me that goes, oh, this is fun, because like this is all these characters that I already know,
Right.
you know, just kind of getting a start and seeing how different they're characterized in the beginning from how they end up by the end of the series. But I think the first couple of episodes, right? It's a strong pilot, I would say. But just taken on their own, they're not great.
Yeah. I kind of, part of me kind of got the feeling that, like, a younger Cademan would have liked it a lot more than I did. Like,
That
just a previous version of me would have really
that
enjoyed
makes
this show.
sense.
But, like, the current version of me, I'm like, oh man, I wish the previous version of me could have watched this.
I think just like in the past couple of years, I've just gotten really tired of stories about teenagers.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just getting old and grouchy, but
Probably.
like
You watch this and you're like, ah, those young yippersnappers always burning down schools to kill vampires and stuff. Like, that they're shenanigans.
My big takeaway was like, why are all of these kids' parents letting their like 15-year-old children go to a nightclub every night, including school nights?
Yeah.
Like, what is that about?
Yeah.
Like, I guess it is a thing, right? In shows about teenagers, it's like they're always doing stuff. Like, you know, it's like every night they're going out and doing something, which is weird because I don't know about you, but I feel like when I was a teenager, I spent most of my nights, you know, doing nothing until it was time for me to go to sleep.
Yeah, no, that's... I mean, like, and we were homeschooled, so... Like, that's probably where some of the disconnect is. But it's also...
I think arguably we probably had more freedom to do things in the evening because we never had, like, homework to get done or anything like that.
That's true.
But, like, you know, normal kids, like, or, you know, kids who went through a normal schooling experience, they would have, like, work to do at night.
Yeah.
And they'd have to get up at, like, 6 o'clock in the morning to go to school.
Yeah.
Like, we went to bed at, like, 10, and we didn't even have to get up early, you know?
True. No, but it is like I watch um like any show, like your Smallvilles or this show, and there's like these teenager parties, and I'm like, this is the worst thing. Like I would
Yeah.
hate to be at anything that resembles that. But
Just like if you want to do like parties and staying out late at night and like just make your characters in college. You can even have them live with their parents if you want. You know?
it's true.
Like
It's
I
true.
don't
But I think there's like the if you want the teenagers to feel like they can relate, even if they can't.
screw the teenagers. But like not literally because that's another
I'm
problem.
glad you
Shows
clarified.
about teenagers.
I'm so glad you clarified. That was very necessary.
Yeah. No, I feel like uh I don't know. I'm just an old man who's not hip and with the times anymore. But I do think I appreciated these early seasons of Buffy more
Hmm.
when I was a teenager.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, are you ready for the new portion of the show that will never happen again?
Oh
It's
yeah, I'm so excited
it's
for our recurring segment that may never recur.
it's time for some cool leather jackets. There was some cool leather jackets in this episode. So,
Yes,
are,
that
are you are
that
you
will
ready?
be a running theme with this series.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
we may actually have this segment again.
oh my goodness, it's gonna come back, guys. Um,
Don't hold your
but,
breath.
but so the first cool leather jacket is the guy who died in the beginning. He had a very much. It reminded me of the Dean's leather jacket from the early seasons of Supernatural, which I like the early seasons of Supernatural. So I was like, yay, that's a cool leather jacket. And then the second cool leather jacket is the evil vampire lord that came out of the pile of blood and was like, blah, I came out of the pile of blood and I have this cool leather jacket. I think that's a line from the show.
Yeah.
Um, and then our
The Master, I believe he was called.
the mask, right, it's a Doctor Who crossover. Um, but that's how I interpreted that. Um, but anyway, our final cool leather jacket was Buffy's "I'm gonna go kill some vampires" leather jacket. That was probably the best leather jacket. I think it it was cool.
It was a pretty good
I
one.
liked it. Not, and that's not to be confused with her "I'm gonna go kill vampires" sunglasses, which she wore earlier in the show.
Yeah. She really can, accessorize very well for killing vampires.
Yeah. I also
Like,
the scene where she had the box of stuff and then like she pulled out the stuff and there was vampire killing stuff underneath. I I
yeah.
I appreciated that. I thought it was fun. Um
Okay. I have a thought on this vampire killing box that I just have to
okay.
get out real
Okay.
quick. So, what was on top of the vampire killing stuff? It was like keepsakes, right? From like when she was a little girl, like
Uh-huh.
pictures and like stuffed animals and stuff.
That's what it seemed, yeah.
Like that's exactly the kind of crap that a mom would look at periodically. Like that's not the stuff you put things under if you don't want your mom looking at it.
You know what I thought? I thought that looks like a box of like you're cleaning your room and you're like, I don't know what to do with this stuff. So you just stuff it in a box and stick it in your closet.
I feel like that's also like, a box that your mom would go through.
That you're
right?
not wrong. You're not wrong.
Like, I don't know, put it in like your sock drawer or something.
Also,
Like there's
something that was there was just like soap containers with a cross on them, and I guess that's holy
right.
water.
Holy water.
I guess that's how holy water comes in this universe. It's just like,
you know what I thought was
these soap containers.
So funny?
What's that?
You know what I thought was so funny that was in the box? Is just like a bunch of giant cloves of garlic. Like, or not cloves, full heads of garlic.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it's like, those don't last forever, man. Like, you're gonna have to be switching those out if you don't use them in like a week. You're gonna need to get new garlic and clean out your secret box. Also, in addition, someone's gonna smell that. Garlic is very fragrant.
No, that can't be. It's maybe it's holy garlic. If you
It's scentless garlic.
You soak it in holy water and it makes it pure and scentless and it lasts forever.
I mean, I'm just saying, if there was anything to just like, grab from the kitchen on your way out, right? Like, you don't have to hide garlic. Garlic is not a suspicious thing to keep in your house.
You're not wrong.
Just be like, hey, I'm gonna make some spaghetti later, Mom. Can you pick up some garlic for me?
Or just go to the store and buy some. And
it's true, yeah. Just stop at the grocery store on your way to the nightclub to kill the vampires.
Or like, I can see like, I don't know, just keep, make sure that your mom keeps up on her stock of garlic, and then you just always have it.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, just like convince your mom that you like to eat raw garlic.
Yeah.
Like, she's not gonna question it.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, she might question it a little bit, but eventually she'll get used to it.
Yeah. See, I realize now that this podcast, its true purpose is to figure out how to be the better vampire and the better vampire hunter. And
that's true.
It's just a vice. Like, we're just secretly a vice podcast.
Oh no.
tied up in like pop culture. Like, it's a secret advice podcast.
Kidman, there's a very famous, very successful podcast where a group of brothers give advice already. We're infringing on their copyright.
Oh no. Wait, but Jim's
Jim's
not a brother, so.
Right, so
and then,
two brothers.
And then after he dies, we'll be like, oh, well, it was just an accident. We didn't plan for him to die in the first, or second, whatever episode this is. We didn't plan for that, so that can be our excuse.
We literally said in the beginning of this that it was part of the plan to have Jim die. Speaking of which, is he a vampire yet?
I don't know. I think. Yeah. Let's say he's a vampire now.
Cool. Great. Did you remember to stock up on garlic from the grocery store?
I did, but as soon as like Jim became a vampire, he stepped on it, and he was like, "Ow, my feet."
Oh man, that's terrible, because my garlic I left in a box under my bed and it has rotted away to nothing. So
no, I think
we're in trouble.
I think I have garlic salt. So I
I think my wife might have a crucifix in the bedroom. Hold on a second.
Oh. I have... There's a couple Bibles around here.
Okay, I couldn't find a crucifix.
I could make a crucifix of sorts.
Yeah.
I mean, the best thing is I just throw my Bible at him, which would...
Yeah.
You know, it would hurt a normal person, because I have a really big Bible.
Ooh.
So...
Brag alert.
It's
It's got a huge Bible over there.
Here's what it actually is. I have dyslexia, so I got a Bible with really big print, so I can read it more easily.
Brag alert, he's got dyslexia.
Oh man. Yep, now they know I'm the coolest kid.
Okay, hold on. I found a toothpick. I'll use that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wait,
Okay,
I actually...
got him. Got him with the toothpick.
Oh, is he dead? Did he die yet?
I think so. I maybe was a couple inches off from the heart, but he looks upset.
Okay, well, he'll die soon enough. I actually...
Yeah, I mean...
I did have a wooden stake just because. You know, you get a stick and you like chopping off parts of it when you're bored. So for a long time I had a wooden
or just whittling
stick.
down the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. So for a long time I had a wooden stake.
Oh. Well, eventually I think that toothpick will get to his heart through his bloodstream, so I think we're good.
Okay. Whew, thanks goodness. Let me see. What other notes do I have? Oh, the beginning voice? Bad voice. I thought the beginning voice, whoever they had, he tried too hard.
He tried too hard.
Yeah, he was trying to be cool, but he just tried too hard. Like, if he just toned it down one, it would have been great. But
you know what I think is wild?
What is that?
Why didn't they have Giles, the librarian,
That would have made so much
do that
sense.
voiceover? Like, his whole role is like the guy who does the exposition and talks about the Slayer and the vampires. So, like, why not have him do the exposition at the beginning of the theme?
And it would have...
Where they talk about the Slayer and the vampires.
It would have still sounded cool because, you know, he has a cool British voice. And
sure. I mean, and even, like, if it didn't sound cool, it still would sound like, you know, a character from the show talking, instead of just a weird random voiceover.
Yeah. It just, like... And like I get what they're going for, but they just... It seems so much like someone trying to do a creepy voice and not just a creepy voice, you know?
Yeah. I completely agree. It's also like... I think maybe the voice actor tried too hard, and the production team tried too little on, you know, doing anything with his voice.
Yeah, like it almost seemed like a college film voice. Like it's the beginning of a college film.
Yeah, it's like it's a lot of effort and very little, like, skill, and it just feels a little out of place.
Yeah.
The music, though, and, like, the little, like, werewolf howl and all that, top notch. Voiceover,
But besides that, my only other notes are about leather jackets and vampire killing glasses, which we already covered. So.
You totally missed one of the leather jackets, though.
Which leather jacket did I miss? Maybe
Angel has a leather jacket.
Did he?
Yeah, when she tackles him on the streets, and he literally, like, pulls that little box out of his leather jacket and throws it at her in the super weird scene where he just throws a cross at a woman.
Well, I
Like,
guess it wasn't a good one, because I didn't take note of it.
well,
So.
get used to it. Buffy's gonna wear it for most of the series.
Oh, also, one thing that just kind of amused me is when like the principal or whatever that guy was came out and was like, "You can't go outside of the school." It's like, "Oh, I'm getting the a book," and he's like, "Well, too bad. I'm gonna lock the fence." Like, I expected her to climb over it or something, but she just jumps over it like she's Superman or something.
She has very inconsistent jumping powers. Like, maybe it's just this episode, but like sometimes she can just like jump like crazy distances, and then other times she just moves around like normal.
Yeah, that's it seems like her powers were very inconsistent, because it's like, what can she do? She can jump and has super strength, but sometimes she doesn't have super strength.
I think it's basically just super strength, which seems like, I don't know, kind of a weird choice for fighting vampires.
Yeah, should have explained her powers. That would.
Yeah.
Should have been like, you, Giles, should have been like, "Oh, you have the ability to be very strong and jump over fences, but you can't do this if the plot demands that you can't do it." She would have been like, "Oh, now I and the entire audience understand why I can't do this sometimes."
Well, I mean, Giles explained her powers a little bit in the nightclub.
He explained what she can't do.
What she should be able to do but can't do. And you want to know a fun spoiler?
She learns how to do it?
She never learns how to do it.
Wait, what?
They never return to the idea that she should be able to see the vampires.
Oh, that is hilarious.
It never comes up again.
I expected it to be an arc where it's like she has to learn, like, I don't know, the power of friendship that it would be. Or something, and then once that clicks in her mind, now she can magically do the vampire
power of friendship.
Thing. Or like, it's like an arrow where they're like, "Oh, the light in you has to be brighter than the darkness inside Damien Dark." It's like, what did this become?
What are we doing here, guys?
Yeah.
I think sometimes Arrow forgot that their protagonist was literally a serial killer.
I feel like that as well. Or it's like, what is the show's stance on killing bad people?
They really flipped-flopped on whether it was okay to kill people or not.
Like what's the show's standard though? Like, is the show's standard as long as Oliver says it's okay? It's okay?
Yeah. I mean, it's like,
it's so confusing.
They made a decision for season 1 where they were like, he's gonna kill people. It's gonna be really like dark and gritty. And then in season 2 they were like, oh, we'll do a fun character art where he's like, I don't want to kill people anymore. Mm-hmm. And then they were like, wow, this show really doesn't have much without him killing people, does
it? Maybe that's what it was.
I don't know. It was weird.
I think season 1, him going around and killing people, was great. That was great fun. I think the decision for him to stop killing people was like, it made sense to me, and it worked as a dynamic for the character. But then they went back to him killing people, and it's like, now that arc doesn't mean anything. And they did,
it's sort of like,
they did the same thing in Flash though, where there was the arc where he's like, I can't save my mom because that will mess up time or something, and then like later on he decides to do it anyway, and it's like, we already planted, we already had a track that said no, we can't do the Flashpoint thing in this universe. They were like, but Flashpoint's so popular, let's do it anyway. It's like, no, that ruins everything, guys. Don't do that.
It's sort of like whenever like there's a character who has like a substance abuse problem, like, and that's like a story arc, you know that it's never going to go away. Like, they're always going to bring it back up. They're always going to relapse.
Yeah.
Like, forever and ever until the show ends or the character dies. Probably from an overdose, because that's how these things go.
Yeah. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah. It's like they can't have actual character growth. It's always temporary.
I feel like the CW, especially.
Yeah. Well, I was specifically talking about the CW shows.
Yeah.
Because some other shows have better writing.
Yeah. At this point.
Yeah.
I feel like all of the Arrowverse shows are pretty much a joke. Right? Like, none of them take themselves seriously anymore.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't watched them in years, so I wouldn't really know.
Yeah. But, like, when you stopped, that was the direction it was going, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I stopped right before they did Crisis, and it really felt like they were really draining their, I don't know, supply of ideas. They were scraping the bottom of the barrel.
I think
narratively speaking,
that's what really bothers me about these shows, is because it's like it's, people always say, oh, they ran out of ideas, and it's like, no, like, I can think of so many great ideas for the show to go in. It's like, just the writers are tired or something. It's not like the ideas aren't there.
I think a better analogy than they ran out of ideas is I said they were scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Right.
It's like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, but they have 5 other barrels in the back that they could just switch out.
Yeah.
But for some reason they just keep trying to scrape more out of this one barrel.
Yeah. Yep. That seems accurate. Or it's like, it's like, oh, we need a new thing for the Flash. Let's pull up random comics. Okay, Kid Flash, we'll do that. Okay, Flashpoint, we'll do that. It's like, don't do those both at once. What's wrong with you? That's a terrible idea.
Oh, man, they had no idea what to do with Kid Flash in those shows.
They didn't, and the way they brought him in was awful. They could have done a Flashpoint that was great, even though, narratively, in the plot, it didn't make sense. But
Flashpoint also kind of needed to be a crossover.
Yeah. And can you imagine if it was, they did the Batman thing, but with Oliver's dad, and it was Oliver's dad that became the Green Arrow? I think that would be cool.
It'd be dope as hell.
Why didn't you do that, CW? I'm disappointed in you.
Imagine if they had just committed to doing an entire season of both Flash and Arrow in a Flashpoint universe.
That could have been so cool.
Yeah, I mean, they probably would have to keep Stephen Amell as Green Arrow, but they just have to kind of alter the circumstances, I think.
Yeah. You know what I think the best thing actually would have been? Welcome to the show where we say we're going to talk about Buffy, but then talk about Flashpoint instead. Anyway.
We also talked about Doctor Who for a long time.
That is true. But I think the best thing would have been a Flashpoint tie-in movie that, it's very clear where it fits into the show, but it's a standalone feature film, and you watch
Wow.
that,
That's
and then
crazy.
the show goes on. But that would be the best way to tell the story, would it not?
I mean, I guess, but like, that's such an insane like idea to like produce a whole movie in between seasons of a series. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a crazy idea. Like,
I guess the realistic way would be to close off all of the shows like 10 seasons ago, because they're all going for way too long, and then do a Flashpoint movie. Like, do what they did with Star Trek and keep making stuff, but end the show. I don't know.
yeah, I don't know. I think when I was a child, not a child, when I was, in high school, when Arrow first started coming out and like Flash came out, like it was the most exciting thing, right? And then like now it's still going. I mean, I think 10 years later now, right? Because Arrow came out in 2012, is that right? Yeah. Arrow ran from 2012 to 2020. So if you count like the entire universe of shows, like it's still going. It's been 10 years. Like,
yeah,
shows shouldn't last this long.
If something good comes from Arrow, or if they do make like an Arrow movie or a Flash movie or something, and it's good, I will watch it.
They are making a Flash movie.
If they make a Flash movie starring Grant Gustin.
I think, is there still like, I feel like there was a rumor going around that Grant Gustin was gonna like be in the Flash movie.
Oh, well, what's his name from the movie showed up in Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah. Is it Ezra Miller?
That sounds right.
How do we forget these people who have the same last name as us, Cademan?
How do we forget our other brother that went on to be an actor and play Flash?
He's definitely not related to us.
Very distantly.
Not at all.
What? Are you sure? I will find a way to prove that we are related somehow. And then I'll be like, hey, I'm related to the Flash. Whoop-de-doo.
Good luck. There's like 1 trillion Millers in this country.
I have my ways. Anyway, with that being said,
moving on to our next topic.
What we are gonna do is we're going to take 2 superheroes that probably don't necessarily belong together, and we're gonna pitch how we would write a comic about these 2 superheroes together. So basically the way it's gonna work is I'll pitch a comic to Tyrion, and he'll play the part of Marvel or DC, probably. I would assume. I would assume we're sticking with those 2.
You don't want to do Dark Horse comics?
What does Dark Horse do? Star Wars?
Well, Marvel does Star Wars now.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Dark Horse used to do Star Wars.
Regardless,
Dark Horse publishes the Hellboy comics, but they are independently owned by their creator. So.
Oh well, that's fancy.
I guess.
But anyway, so you want to go first, or do I go first?
Well,
Jim's already dead, so
that's true.
He can't go first.
Did that toothpick finally get to his heart?
I believe it did. He looks pretty dead.
Is he a pile of dust?
He's thoroughly staked.
Well, why don't you go first? Because this is your topic, and I'm sure you have a good idea.
Okay. I may or may not have a good idea, but I'll tell you one thing. I have a weird idea.
Okay, I'm down for it.
So, it is very much a weird idea because it is very much two, or at least one, very weird characters.
Okay, I like weird characters.
So, my thought is a Metamorpho question comic.
Metamorpho and question.
Yep. So
Okay.
So basically, my idea is that because you have Metamorpho's origin is like he was screwed over by this company that turned him into a giant Metamorpho monster.
Yes, one of DC's most famous characters.
Is he?
No, he's not.
No, but see, the weird thing is, this is a side thing, but Metamorpho, like, he's not a popular character, but whenever like I see a lineup of DC characters, he's always there.
Always?
It's like, maybe not always, but like in my head, I picture like a lineup of DC characters. I always picture Metamorpho being there for some reason.
Okay.
Regardless, my idea is that you have him going up against the company. I believe it's like Stag Enterprises.
I think isn't Stag from isn't it from Batman? Isn't the CEO of Stag a Batman villain?
I'm pretty sure that that's the Metamorpho guy. I could be wrong.
It might be both.
It may very well be both. But so, like, I like the idea of the question going up against like a supervillain company,
Huh?
right? Like usually in my head it's like the question versus LexCorp, I think would be really cool. But so my idea is like both of them working together to try and take down this evil company. And like the question is doing it from a very detective angle, and the Metamorpho is more aggressive, and it's like you got the brains and the bronze. So that's
interesting.
That's my idea. I'm selling to you.
You were right. It is Simon Stagg is the villain of Metamorpho, and he runs Stagg Enterprises.
Okay. There you go. I'm kind of surprised I actually got that right.
I'm too. I think I'm thinking of a different group of characters. But yeah, I don't know. I will admit that I do not know very much about Metamorpho.
I think no one does.
Yeah, he seems pretty obscure. Like, I know what he looks like. I can kind of picture him. But like, honestly, anything other than like evil corporation experiment gone wrong turned him into Metamorpho. Like, I couldn't draw anything like personality or storyline wise.
Right. Yeah, I think like, what I know about Metamorpho is I watched the Justice League episode with him, but it's also worth being said that uh, in my idea for this, like, there's lots of characters that could take the place of Metamorpho.
Sure. It's mainly a question plus heavy thing.
Right. It's a question plus corporation experiment gone wrong.
Sure. But, like, Metamorpho is convenient only in as so much as he fits the origin that you're looking for.
Right. Pretty much. And, like, I think there's like, in reality, this comic book would never sell, because it's like, you know, who knows the question and who knows Metamorpho.
I think,
but, like, in my head, it's really cool.
I think question, you could probably get, like, a niche audience with question. I think it would be a tough sell because it would not. Neither is a big name. The only appeal you're going to get from from name recognition are going to be from, like, hardcore fans or, like, older fans of characters. And honestly, question is not very popular outside of, like, you and me.
Right. You know what I feel like the biggest reaction to, like, people seeing the question is? I feel like they're like, who's this Rorschach parody?
Yeah. Which, if you don't know, is funny because Rorschach is a parody of the question.
Yeah. So the characters in Watchmen were made as parodies of Steve Ditko's characters.
Well, I mean, the Charleston Comics characters, some of which were created by Steve Ditko.
Okay, yeah. But
I think
what people say, I don't know if you know this or not, but a lot of people say that Rorschach was not only made as a question parody, but a parody of Steve Ditko himself.
Yeah,
like it was they used it as a way to make fun of Steve Ditko's ideas.
They being Alan
which is
Moore.
kind of fun.
Yeah, I have heard that before. Steve Ditko, famously hard to get along with, famously disliked comic book writer. But yeah, I don't know if I would even say that they're parodies of the Charleston Comics characters so much as just, like, stand-ins for them.
Right.
Because, you know, the initial idea was, hey, DC just acquired all these characters, let's use them to tell this story. And then partway through development, DC was like, we like the story, but we don't want you to use these characters anymore.
Yeah, I think like not parody, because parody has the idea of, like, humorous.
Yeah.
And, like,
it is
making fun of, which I think,
I don't know, it's almost parody.
Yeah. I feel like in the case of Rorschach, at least, that there definitely is a little bit of...
Yeah. Well, I mean, Rorschach is also, like... Sorry, not Rorschach. The question was also, like, kind of, like, very ideologically linked to Steve Ditko. And so it kind of... Mm-hmm. I mean, Watchmen, in and of itself, was a criticism of comic books and the superhero genre. And so I think they used Rorschach as a way to criticize specifically, like, Steve Ditko's ideology and the ideology he put into his comics.
Right.
But
anyway,
yeah.
all that being said, I think the question is, I don't know, like, I feel like the question has potential to be really big if they got, like, a good writer on him.
Yeah. To be fair, the question did have a, one of the reasons that we like him so much is he had a good run on the Justice League show from when we were younger.
Yep. Yeah, which I think that's probably gonna be where a lot of people kind of know him from.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that show is the reason why, like, an entire generation knows the John Stewart Green Lantern better than the Hal Jordan Green Lantern. So.
Oh yeah, John Stewart would be nothing without that.
I mean, it's true. It did a lot for him.
Like, they completely changed his character, and very much for the better. By the way,
yeah, 100%.
If you look at the old John Stewart, it's a
racist stereotype.
Uncomfortable, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, there's no getting around it. It's a racist stereotype.
But the show made him quite cool, and now a lot of people really love him.
Yeah, I mean, well,
I'm fond of him.
I think
Hal Jordan will always be, like, my Green Lantern, but I do like John Stewart being there.
I feel like John Stewart will always be my Green Lantern because it's like, that show was, for my generation, I feel like a big part of our introduction to superheroes. So, I always think, that is like the main Green Lantern for a lot of people in their brains, like John Stewart from that show.
Yeah.
But I have come to appreciate Hal Jordan as well, since those early days.
Right. I think, like, my love for Hal Jordan comes from when we got all of those comics from the beginning of the New 52. So, like, we got one Green Lantern comic.
Well, we got two because we got Green Lantern and then we got Green Lantern Corps.
But I think we just had Green Lantern.
Did we not get Green Lantern Corps?
I don't remember a Green Lantern Corps.
I thought we did. I think that was such a fun time because it was like they reset everything except for Green Lantern for some reason.
Yeah. It's Green Lantern and Batman?
I mean,
kind of?
Batman, kind of. But, like, Green Lantern was the one where they were like, yeah, we don't care that continuity's been reset. We're just going to keep doing what we've been doing and keep all of this, like truly massive amount of continuity.
Right. Which I think is pretty fun.
Yeah.
It's basically the way it works is they're like, Jeff Johns, he's doing Green Lantern. He did his Green Lantern Rebirth where he brought back Hal Jordan and stuff. It's like an epic story that's like very large story. And then someone's like, hey, Jeff Johns, so guess what? You have to reboot. And he's like, yeah, but I think I just won't.
But what if we didn't reboot?
Which also, Jeff Johns famously doesn't like reboots. So
yeah, I guess that tracks then, huh?
Yeah.
This is actually a good segue into my pitch for a team-up comic.
Okay.
Which I will go out on a limb here and say that my pitch, I actually have two. Neither one is as creative as yours. They're both pretty basic. But
okay.
my number one, first up, is Green Lantern.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't really thought about it, but I'm assuming the Hal Jordan version. And Green Arrow, which...
That's never been done.
Yes, no, famously very successful comic from before we were born. That was Green Lantern, Green Arrow.
And their drugs.
Yep. They had a famous drug story arc. And several other controversial for the time story arcs. But no, I was just thinking, right? Like, because you texted me this prompt earlier today, and so I was sitting and I was thinking, what is a team-up comic that I would love to read, right? And I didn't really... I thought, you know what? I like Green Lantern, Green Arrow. It's such a funny combination because it's literally like somebody looked at it and was just like, oh, they both have green in their name. Let's put them together because neither one of them is selling very well. They're basically the same. And they're truly so dissimilar. Like, just like nothing in common at first glance except for the word green. But I think the original Green Lantern, Green Arrow comic had them, doing stuff on Earth, dealing with like social issues and whatnot. So my pitch for a revamped, all new Green Lantern, Green Arrow comic is, instead of keeping Green Lantern on Earth doing stuff with Green Arrow, we take Green Arrow to space and make him do stuff with Green Lantern.
Oh. That is interesting.
Yeah, because I think I like the idea, right, of you have a guy, like two guys who are friends, right? Mm-hmm. And one of them is a space cop who goes into space and does cop stuff in space.
Right.
And the other one is just, ordinary guy. And I think it's an interesting idea to have just like Green Arrow being the everyman stuck in space with his friend who is a space cop. I think...
Yeah, that definitely could be pretty fun.
Yeah. I think the idea of him just being like, going from alien planet to alien planet, being like, man, this is crazy. I just think it's appealing to me. But in addition, I also think, I've used this term twice, of calling Hal Jordan a space cop. I think it would be an interesting way to introduce or to explore the, sort of controversial reputation that police in America have these days, through the lens of using Green Arrow once again as our basic liberal stand-in for the liberal audience of the comic, and using Hal Jordan as like, the quote-unquote good cop working within a system with lots of issues and bad cops. And I think it'd be an interesting... I think it would be an interesting concept to see play out. It also might just kind of come across pretty ham-fisted. So, as with most social issues.
I like the idea of like keeping political issues, but then putting it in space. So it's like, I think that's a little more... it's funner than just having like a comic book where you're like, Trump's bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it gives us some distance, so you can do things that are more like allegorical and less like literal. Plus, like, it's fun to like just think of the idea of like Green Lantern dragging Green Arrow on his adventures in space, and then like everywhere they land,
Right.
Green Arrow like challenging his perception of the situation. So it's like, he lands here and he's like, all right, this is the situation. And Green Arrow's like, I don't know, kind of seems like maybe you like are giving these guys a raw deal here.
Yeah. I like it. I like the idea of um like if you have Green Arrow and Green Lantern be like opposite political stances, I think that would be a good way to do politics, because generally it's like it's like these politics are the right politics, like in media and stuff. It's like these politics are the right politics, and like the other people are bad, which is like, no, they're not bad, they're just people, and maybe they're wrong about things, and maybe you're wrong about things.
Yeah. I think there's always something nice about like the storytelling element of having, your protagonists have like, be on opposite ends of a political spectrum and still being, friendly with each other and just, challenging each other's perceptions, and how they see things. And
I like that. And like,
yeah, it's
it's
dynamic.
I feel like putting like politics and stuff like kind of gets a bad rap. And it's like, I get it, because when it's done bad, it's really irritating. But like, I feel like there is a way to do it that's like
Yeah.
more respectful, and you can get people to think.
Yeah, and I think like there's always the risk of coming across really ham-fisted, like I said earlier. But I think there's also like the potential to be able to, explore a subject in a neutral way, especially when you're using like allegory, like they're in space and it's aliens, because it's like you can look at it and you can just take it for what it is. It's a story about space aliens. And then you can also look at it and say like, oh, how does this make me think about, our situation? And like, maybe you look at it and you go, oh, I don't really agree with this author's perception of the situation, but it's still just a fun story.
I think part of like the doing politics thing is there's this great quote by the incredible author Brandon Sanderson where he's like, authors aren't really very good at telling people what to think, but like they're good at asking questions. And like the actual quote probably sounds better than that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think that's the thing, is like to touch on these topics, it's like if you go more into asking questions and less telling people what the answer is. And like, obviously you're gonna have the side that you go towards.
Right, yeah.
But and like that will probably be clear. But like, I can think of like episodes of Star Trek and like other like older shows most of the time where it's like I very much disagree with the politics that the episode's trying to push, but it still did it in a respectful way. So it's like, it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah. I think I don't know. I think that it's science fiction is always like a good place to, approach these ideas and approach like these concepts of, like the current political turmoil, because it allows you to put distance between the story that you're telling and the, political question that you're addressing. And it's also, a good way to say, like, I don't know what the right answer is here, but maybe the way we're thinking about it is a little bit off,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
Yeah, no, I like your idea.
Yeah,
I do.
that's my pitch. It's not, it's not very original, but...
Yeah. But like the thought of like they're on some alien planet, and like Hal Jordan is like, you gotta eat the alien food, and then Oliver is like, I don't want to eat this. This is alien food. It's gross. Or like, just like him like not understanding these space concepts, and it's just like it's too much for him. I like that idea.
Yeah, I like the idea of like Hal Jordan being like, you gotta try this, and then Green Arrow being like, yeah, I have a rule that I never eat anything that's looking at me.
Yeah. He does make good chili, though.
Yeah, canonically, the spiciest chili in the DC universe.
Yeah, which I've heard isn't actually that spicy.
Did they put out a recipe for it, too?
Yeah.
All I can picture is just that one like panel from the comic at the end where everyone's like flipping out because it's so spicy.
Yep.
But yeah, do you want to hear my other idea for a team up?
I would love to.
It's even more boring because I did not give as much thought to this.
Get this: Batman and Robin teamed up.
Whoa! That's very close. So,
what? On that, like, I would love to see a comic with Batman and Robin, because we haven't gotten that for a while.
That's true. I think I was just seeing. I'm pretty behind the times with comic books, but I think Damian has been off kind of doing his own thing for a while and not working with Batman. So,
well, I think because DC had the where they went into the near future for a little while.
Oh.
But I think they went back in. I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm so behind on comic books. Like, I think I'm like 3 years behind.
Right. Yeah. But I've started paying a little bit more attention to comics again. In part because of this podcast. But yeah, I am also pretty far out of the loop.
Yeah, with Xbox Game Pass, free plug for Xbox Game Pass, they gave a 3-month free trial of Marvel Unlimited. So I've been reading some like old Spider-Man comics from the 60s because, I'm talking real old Spider-Man comics.
You gotta love 60s Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Where he's growing more arms. And
I think that was 70s Spider-Man, actually.
Fighting Kraven the Hunter and his nipple lasers.
I do remember the nipple lasers. Anyway, so here's my pitch: is we have the B side of the comic book, like the first most prominent story, right? Green Lantern, Green Arrow, right? That's the headliner. And then we have a shorter B story at the end of every comic book, and it is a Red Hood Arsenal comic.
Oh.
just because, like, truly, when they put them together in Red Hood and the Outlaws, it was a stroke of genius. They belong together. They need to be together more.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. So
Red Hood and Arsenal all the way.
yeah.
They're great.
No further comment on what those stories would be about, but Red Hood and Arsenal would be the B story.
You know what? You know what I like to think? It's so Green Arrow, he calls up Arsenal and he's like, "Hey, take care of Star City while I'm up in space." And then Arsenal's like, "Hey, Red Hood, come help me take care of Star City while Oliver's up in space."
Yeah. I think it would need to be like a tight there, and it would have to be like a tight, like, miniseries kind of thing, right? Where it's like, oh, part 1 of 6, right? And then from there, you can either keep going with it or do something different once you reach part 6.
Yeah. That would make sense.
But
What if you had a Red Lantern with them?
yeah, but the only Red Lantern I know is the cat. So,
Right.
I mean, I'm on board.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, I never read the Red Lantern Corps comics, so...
There's the cat and there's the skeleton wing lady.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I know Atrocious, or Atrocitus, whatever his name is. The atrocity guy.
Guy Gardner was like what the Red Lantern comic was about, I believe. If I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Like, he took over the Corps, and then he was like, "And we're kind of good guys now, guys."
Yeah.
And then Atrocitus was like, "I'm gonna take back the Corps." And I think the cat was with him the entire time.
With Atrocitus or with Guy Gardner?
Yeah. With Atrocitus.
Yeah.
I don't think he was ever with Guy Gardner's. I don't remember.
Yeah. I don't know.
I believe I read that one.
That sounds interesting. I like Red Lanterns as a concept. I like the whole, Green Lantern spectrum as a concept.
Wait, what if you put Guy Gardner with Roy and Jason?
I feel like that's like putting like the most inept babysitter with like the most unruly children.
Yeah. See, part of me is like, then you just have 2 Roys.
Yeah. You kind of would have like I feel like in that situation, though, I feel like Guy Gardner is a little bit more like tempered, and Arsenal is a little bit more like loose cannon-y,
Yeah. Oh man, I'm remembering Green Lantern stuff is some of the best comics. There's this scene where in Rebirth, I don't remember the details, but like the Yellow Lanterns are teamed up with the Green Lanterns, but they're like, there's all of this bickering between the 2 corps, as you would suspect. I believe Sinestro's dead at this time. I don't remember, but
I thought he de-aged like at the beginning of Rebirth, where like he was like decrepit and old, but then he like did some shenanigans and became like young again.
Maybe. I know later on he played a big part in Scott Snyder's Justice League run.
Oh, that's fun.
But anyway, so uh, basically, the um, the Yellow Lantern version of Kilowog, essentially, uh, uh, got into like this big fist fight with Guy Gardner, and like they beat each other up a whole bunch, and then they were like, "There you go. Now since we beat each other up, you can stop fighting with each other." And then that they became buddies and bonded over beating each other up.
Yes, because that
And
is
it
how
was
friendship
great.
works.
You may be surprised.
Maybe. I don't know. I've never tried to be friends with a giant alien monster.
Giant blue alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, but just like the way I explained the scene doesn't do it justice at all. But the way it was written, and then like their following friendship, it was great.
Yeah. I really do like Green Lantern. Like it's pretty good. It's a pretty good
Yeah.
comic.
Yeah, it's I think like everything after Jeff Johns came in and kind of revived it
Yeah, that's
is like I wish I had more time to read like all of it, because it's like it's so like closely knit together, and it's like you know, it's cool.
yeah. I'd love to go back and like start in like the early 2000s and just read through Green Lantern.
Yeah. And I honestly, like, I want to read like every DC comic. Like I want to know everything there is to know about all these characters.
Yeah.
And then I can be kicked out of parties because I try and talk about superheroes at parties.
Is that what happens at parties when people talk about superheroes?
Sometimes with the MCU that may have changed.
Yeah, I don't think that happens anymore, Caitlin. I think you missed that generation by a couple of decades.
I do feel like there's still like a um a thing of like, oh, this guy, he's talking about superheroes and like telling us all this stuff that we don't really care about, because we care about partying and women, probably. That's why people go to parties, right?
I couldn't
I think so.
tell you, bud.
I'm convinced that is the reason.
All right. Well, I think that is a good note to wrap it up on.
Yeah.
So, do we have an outro? I always forget.
We have the join us next time when we do
Right.
such and such thing.
All right. Join us next time when we definitely will 100% talk about Buffy the Vampire Slayer and no other TV shows.
The entire time.
It will exclusively, truly, we will stay on topic. I swear. Just trust me, man.